I'm Rob Sarney, and you're listening to What the Heck FinTech, where you'll experience and learn that FinTech is Fin Life. Let's get started. Welcome back to Part 2 with Ian Cain. If you didn't hear Part 1, please go back and listen to it to hear how he started QUBIC Labs, Boston Blockchain Week, and how he got inspired to get into politics. Let's get started.
Yes.
So let's get into the regulation stuff. I'd like to a little bit here because because you have an insight that none of us have. So I want to talk about your Senate run too that you did too, and we'll put that off to the side for now. But what are you thinking from a regulatory standpoint? Do we need more? Do we need less? At a state level, at a federal level? I mean, some things are starting to get, happening on both those levels. I'd love to hear your take on what do we need to keep our eye on, and so we can really tap into it really well for this ecosystem.
So, a couple things on that. I think you saw the Genius Act signed at the federal level. President Trump signed that bill, bipartisan support, which is good. Creates a framework for stablecoins to operate. I think, it goes into effect after 180 days or something like this after the signing. One-to-one reserve requirements for stablecoin issuers. I think it's a great start. I think that no one in the space could have imagined that things would have moved as fast as they did. And at the same time, you've got the Market Structure Clarity Act coming into the view as well. There's a little work to be done there. I know there's some reconciliation between two separately drafted bills between the House and the Senate. So I think there's still some negotiation there, but I think that that's going to be a bigger one, at least for the overarching system of crypto or, digital assets, right? To give more guidance around governability within the realm of the CFTC as opposed to SEC and securities. Yeah. Stay tuned. I think they're in recess now. I mean, they got things moving, but they'll come back, and I think it's anticipated that it'll get moving. Thankfully, there were a couple of our representatives to the federal government who supported the Clarity Act. I think Congressman Auchincloss and Moulton voted in favor of the House bill. You got some others who just make it their job to disparage this entire space, and in a very opportunistic way. But that's how that game goes. So it's, I don't know.
Now, what about in the internal state level?
Yeah,
I know. There's some things going on in the Massachusetts from the representatives, across the state. What are you hearing going on there now? And what's happening?
So I just testified up at the State House 3 bills that were in front of that committee, and these bills have been kicking around since 2021. Okay, we testified on one of this first bill, which was on creating a commission around blockchain and digital assets in 2021, and we wanted to support that, which would explore how the Commonwealth could be more supportive of the space from an economic development perspective, but also how can blockchain potentially be deployed within the government to improve it, right? There were 2 other bills. One is exploring doing a real estate deeds project on blockchain with a county government who runs the deeds for the registry. So that's an interesting one. That's something that we at QUBIC and have been exploring for the last few years in Norfolk County. Norfolk County was one of the first sort of online register of deeds anyway. And so, we're excited to continue to aid that office and other of the registry of deeds around the state into this next level, which would be to essentially it's data replication. So, they've been reporting everything on paper since transactions started occurring. There's pamphlets that the Register puts out on a regular basis highlighting some of this stuff, which is cool to see in history. But this would be a digital representative on blockchain that would essentially, in further application, allow sort of for the integration back into the marketplace in order to facilitate transactions. That's the goal, right? Is that you've seen a lot of these market-driven approaches to real estate ownership, but we want to start at the source of truth, which would be at the deed, and work back to the market. And that's where I think a lot of these applications for different types of blockchain applications, especially with respect to identification or sort of fundamental proof, will have to start as the government and sort of we, given our proximity and understanding, feel confident about our place within it and the pace at which it goes. We understand that pace, which is not a pace that people can usually get down with. It's a little slower than the traditional market, but that's the place where we think you need to go. And I think the proof is in one of our affiliate companies, Blockwise Advisors, leading the first municipal bond offering on blockchain in the country, which was a remarkable transaction. That was something that puts the city of Quincy on par with Lugano, Switzerland, and Hong Kong in terms of advancing these sort of real world deployments. And so that was the second bill. Going back to the real estate, the third bill enables the state treasury or the state treasurer to create consumer protection and education programs around crypto, which I think are hugely important. And of note around that is we're going to have a lot of privacy and security conversations at Boston Blockchain Week as well. I think that people are understanding that there is I get texts from Coinbase all day long telling me to click on this thing and check an account. So I think there are a lot of crypto scams out there that people need to be made aware of. But yeah, those are the three bills. They've been kicking around for a while. There was a senator that proposed a strategic reserve for Bitcoin. I just don't think I don't know what they pay attention to at the state level, to be honest with you. But I'm not certain that these will be priorities that are moved forward, unless there's a need. I know that there were recently some money transmitter rules that were signed by the governor I think it was at the beginning of the year, at the end of last year, that will go into effect, I think, in October of this year. That will probably affect how, some of these larger crypto businesses might operate as money transmitters under the guidance of the state banking laws. So, those are the things that you need to be paying attention to.
Yeah, Ian, that was great. Now I got a question that, a lot of us have never run for Senate, United States Senate. And
yeah,
you did. What was that like? And I want to, and I don't know if you had a moment, but what was the moment when you said, I got to do this? Was it something that happened, but it sounds like you've been thinking about politics for a while, but jumping right from, a city of, Quincy into, the federal government, that's a big jump, which I think is very cool. What was that story that he said, I gotta do this?
I fell down a set of stairs and hit my head, and and in a moment of delusion said,
hey, it works. It works.
What happened? I was I think every person who runs for office is lying if they're not saying that they're looking at the next thing. And so I was reelected for the fourth time, and I've enjoyed the role in city council. It's been great. I think it's the best place to learn. In fact, it's just so retail, and if you're not directly connecting with your neighbors and like family and friends in this context, then I think a lot of these people just get so disconnected as they are in the state and federal levels, because they haven't had that grassroots connection really. But
that's a great point.
There were just some wins. I think I had some conversations with friends vis-a-vis this space, right, being like blockchain and crypto, and seeing members of Congress from Massachusetts that have not been friendly to the space. And and we're a nonprofit economic development organization. We're not a political action committee. But it behooves us to be knowledgeable and aware of what's going on out there, because we're trying to support founders who are building on this tech. And the idea is to create value for the region. There've been some conversations about this person and that person, and I thought about this thing or that thing. But it was I think February of last year. I was at an event that was hosted by Coinbase and Stand With Crypto, which is their sort of advocacy arm. And I was talking to one of their policy people, and I participated on a panel, and we're talking about all this stuff, the bills and the work that we do. And she told me that she had a conversation with a prominent person that we all know, that my name came up in a conversation, and I to run for U.S. Senate, and immediately my light bulb went off, because I said, okay, well, the back of the envelope was, if I can get GOP support in the state, then I can unlock this crypto money, which makes it a very serious race, because a U.S. Senate race, I've discovered, is about a $50 million startup project. Okay.
Wow.
You have no. This is not holding a sign and standing on a corner. This is enterprise building at that level, right? If you are trying to take out a nationally known, Democratic progressive darling, that is this person, then you need tens of millions of dollars and a lot of airtime. So it was ambitious, but I didn't shy from it. I said, I think this is it. I got to try. And I called my friend Matt Walsh from Castle on Venture, and I called Kelly Callahan from Arrington Capital. I said, hey, I think I'm going to do this. And they're like, let's go. And so, you just march down this path, and it's a fundraising job. Like, it's sales. It's all sales. So I'm on the phone all day long asking people for their max contributions, and from them and their spouse. And then you're trying to hit events, and I ran as a Republican in Massachusetts, which so the registered voter population in Massachusetts is largely unaffiliated to a political party. So about 65% of the voting population in Massachusetts is unenrolled. So meaning they're not Democrat or Republican. 9% or so are Republicans, and then the rest are Democrats. So it's almost like a misnomer. It's sort of like, I feel like there's a sheen, sort of a facade about us being as liberal, progressive, or Democratic. However, the majority of the seats in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts at both the state and the federal level are held by Democrats. So all of the federal seats, all 9 of our congressional House of Reps, and both U.S. senators, and then a vast majority of the seats in the state house are Democrat. And then all the constitutional offices, so that being governor, lieutenant governor, treasurer, secretary of state, and the auditor. So,
but the interesting thing is, we've had a few Republican governors too.
Yeah, no, I mean, in my lifetime, we've had more Republican governors than we have Democrat, but it's a little different, I think, when it comes to the federal election process. There are just a couple of different issues that get inserted, or the connections that are made, that change the equation. So, in a presidential year, 1, you're uphill as a Republican. 2, you're uphill because you don't have money. 3, it's a presidential election year, and Donald Trump was on the ballot. So there were a couple of things at play. There was, the Republican base in Massachusetts, which were mostly supportive of a Donald Trump presidential candidacy, but also as a candidate, understanding that, and I'm not bent out of shape. This isn't a conversation about Donald Trump, but I think there's a difference between looking at the work that's being done or isn't done, or is wrong or right, and the personality ad hominem things, that it really distract from having any rational conversation. So, you got one side that is Trump or die, and then you got a whole bunch of people who are like, die if Trump, and so it's like people hear what they want to hear. They draw their own conclusions before they've done the homework, and they don't understand the strategy of trying to take the place of a person that I think is largely disconnected from real issues, and or providing true action-oriented solutions for the residents of Massachusetts. So, this game is about celebrity. This game is really about developing a character that people love or hate, because both of those things draw attention, which is what you need. So, I learned a ton. It solidified a number of things in my mind that I'd learned at the local level, which is that you can tell how people are being manipulated by the content that they consume, whether that is traditional media or social media. Their messaging, you can hear it out of their mouth, what they've heard, how that information travels, and how they regurgitate it. And it's all about money. This is business.
Is there anything else you'd like to shamelessly plug? I mean, we have Blockchain Week coming up. Are there any guest speaking or events you're doing around that or coming up in the future that you'd like to talk about?
Let me try to give you like a snapshot of the schedule. So the event, Boston Blockchain Week, is September 9 to 11 here in Quincy, Mass, in Kilroy Square, where we've done it the past 3 years. On Monday the 8th, so it actually, I guess, starts on the 8th. On Monday the 8th, there's going to be an event called Crypto Mondays. There's a gentleman named Lou Kerner who goes around the world. He's sort of promoted this brand. They host a side event called Crypto Mondays. So there'll be sort of panel discussion and an event hosted at Broma, which is the real estate tokenization company in Boston. The next day we'll start our programming. So our programming from 9 to 11 takes place from noon to around 6 p.m. each day. We have a group called Gain Ventures, which is I know through my Duke network. They're coming up to do a pitch competition, and these are guys that go around to crypto events all over the world similarly. So it's nice to have sort of this outside in attention to our event this year. They're going to do pitch competition starting at 10 in the morning on that Tuesday. I think people are starting to register for that now. And then we'll start our programmatic elements on Wednesday morning. John Hargrave from the Boston Blockchain Association is going to host a fun run in collaboration with Kelly Callahan and Arrington Capital. Kelly and Arrington are going to sponsor a smoothie bar, and John Hargrave is going to get a group together to do a fun run, which I guess was inspired by a fun run out at, I think, Bitcoin Nashville or something like this. And then we'll have side events. We always have a beer and wine truck available sort of during happy hour for people, and then we host some side events in the downtown area, which will be advertised through our website and the Master Luma page. On Thursday, I don't think we have anything in the morning, but we go into regular program, and then we'll have another few side events that will be advertised through our website. So this year, we've collaborated more broadly with the Boston DAO, the Boston Blockchain Association, and DeSci Boston to sort of bring an umbrella Boston Blockchain Week. So it essentially starts on this Crypto Monday event on the 8th, and it goes to the 13th. So on the 12th is ETH Boston, which is hosted by the Boston DAO at the MIT Media Lab. And then Saturday, the 13th, is Solana Boston, hosted by the Boston DAO, and DeSci Boston, which will also be at the MIT Media Lab. So it is now a week. It is a whole week, and I think all of our organizations have been doing our best to shine a brighter light on Boston, because I think it got a bad rap for a long time, and it is time for us to really uplift this space and take our position in the world, because this is the hub. And we've got so much going on here between capital, talent, universities, that, we're not going to lose any more people. We're getting people back.
Yeah. I'm pro Boston. I'm pro Massachusetts. I've always lived in Massachusetts my whole life. I've been out of the state traveling, because of everything, but because of work and everything. But similar to you, I've always lived in Massachusetts, and I love the place.
We're just a bunch of locals. We're just locals.
Yeah, I love it. Ian, I want to say thank you so much. I mean, wow, what stories, what angles. You open our eyes in so many areas, and we learned so much about Blockchain Week coming up. I'm going to be there. For everybody listening, it's a party. It's awesome. It's great people, great conversations, great learning. Yeah. Whether you're a professor, a student, a business person, come down because it's very, very cool.
Check out the website, bostonblockchainweek.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ian. And I want to say thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to What the Heck, FinTech. Make sure you tune into our next episode as we continue to interview FinTech leaders and share real-world stories from across the FinTech ecosystem, so you can fully understand that FinTech is Fin Life.